Hello everyone and welcome to Helix Plays Games. My name is Richie and joining me this week is not the host of Talking the PS side, but Chris 2077, because he's unfortunately not well. So we've got Mr. Rob as well, as usual.
Hello.
Hello indeed. But we've got a great show and lineup for you today where we'll be discussing Redfall's release date is about to come out soon, a controller with an OLED screen, and the Activision-Blizzard-King saga continues. All that and much, much more on this week's XPass.
XPass. Yeah. I've done music for it now.
Yeah, he done. That's it. That's the song, the XPass song. Just XPass. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, like the video and subscribe to the channel or your podcast feed of choice with notifications switched on so you're kept in the loop with all of our great content here over at Helix Plays Games, such as Talking the PS, where every single Tuesday, that is tomorrow, where we break down all the PlayStation news happening. So we've got some great stories over there for you. Every single Friday, we go into CloudQuest, so it's our cloud gaming topical discussion show, where we take a step off the beaten path and just talk about one particular topic in a bit more of a deep dive. And our news show that we've got coming very, very, very soon, covering HBO's The Last of Us, the Clickercast, which will be live. Keep tuned, keep your eye on the YouTube channel for notifications on when that comes. But before we get into it, Rob, and also our live streams where we played Forza for the first time, which was great fun. Me and Chris had a great time with that. Have you been playing anything interesting, Rob?
So, in terms of Xbox, my girlfriend's got back into Fable 3. So, the Xbox has been completely monopolised for that this week. So, I've actually been playing anything Xbox specific. So, I jumped over to PS5 and I've been going back in time a bit, both literally and kind of in-game, if you want, with GTA Vice City on PlayStation Plus.
We've recorded PlayStation Talking the PS before this, and of all the games to play on your brand new shiny PS5, PS2 game.
So yeah, I feel like I'm like the really like sad person who can't move on with life from like the early 2000s, who's like playing Fallout New Vegas and Command and Conquer, like Red Alert, and now Vice City. I fully realise I have a problem.
My music tastes actually are pretty much stranded in my late teens, early 20s.
Yeah, right.
And if anything, I go backwards in time rather than forwards in time. So I'll start listening to some older stuff, but I rarely listen to newer stuff.
Yeah, like I fully realise I have a problem, but I guess on the flip side is I get to spend £3.29 for a game as opposed to like £70, which is nice and kind of welcome.
Is it a problem, or if this is just how you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, I guess so. And like I get really good at Command and Conquer as well now. I'm into the online community of it as well, which is always dangerous.
You do have this kind of thing where like you'll get into a game a bit, and then you get deep into the online.
Yeah, and then it just becomes a problem. But that's been me.
I'm trying to think of some stuff like you've played, things like Heart of Iron and stuff like you've played before, where you just like got deep into it, and like you look at the clock, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's like one more turn, it's like no, go to bed.
Yeah, right. I mean, I made it into the top 25 of the UFC, like EA's like UFC 2 game, and like on the PlayStation leaderboards. Like I got mad into that, and like every now and again a game like that comes along which hooks me in. It's probably not going to be Vice City, like thankfully.
It doesn't have an online component.
I'm sure there'll be a modded version out there somewhere.
Yeah,
like an RP server or something.
For me, I haven't really played much this week. I talk a bit about it tomorrow as well, and talk to the PS, where I finished Plague Tale Innocence, like Got the 100% before I went back to work, but this has been my first week at the time of recording, so last week, like back at work full time since like before Christmas. And then I've been also like after December where I basically didn't do anything in the way of exercise. Like I've been trying to get back into the gym, get back running and stuff. So I was like, I just haven't had that time yet to like start, like, you know, when you start a new game, you want like, I want a good uninterrupted period of time to really sink my teeth into it, and then after that you can start chipping away a bit. I just haven't had that stretch of like maybe 4 or 5 hours yet, which I hopefully will have on Sunday tomorrow as of recording, to jump into Plague Tale Requiem.
Real life really punches you in the face in like the first couple of weeks of January when like you're back from Christmas break and stuff, right?
Yeah, no more getting up at 10 o'clock by the time you've had your breakfast. It's like 11:30. It's like, what do I do with my day? Maybe I should pull on some clothes today. Like,
yeah, no, that shit goes away very
no, it's
quickly.
like, right, get up, go to work. Okay, you said you're going to start exercising again, so finish work, have some food, like maybe play guitar for an hour, get to the gym. Like when you get back from the gym, like have a shower, and it's like, all right, it's like 10 o'clock in the evening now. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. It's like if you don't do the stuff you said you're going to do, like in December, it's fine because it's Christmas. But if you don't do it in January, you're just a lazy bastard. That's that's the reality.
Well, that's it. Like, you know, I was doing quite well up till November. December just it fell off the rails a bit. Well, not too bad. I definitely did put a bit of weight back on in December, but there again, it's December. Yeah, like right. It was impossible to walk into my office at work and there not be cake or biscuits or like a cheese board. People just bring stuff in, like, and it seems like this constant like thing where it's just like, yeah, social life ramps up a bit as well, so you're going out drinking more, like the whole thing. But like, yeah, back onto it now. So hopefully, a bit. I was playing a bit of FIFA and still chipping away a little bit here and there at Pokemon, but I've kind of burnt out on Pokemon. It's rare that I burn out in a Pokemon game before rolling credits. But as I've complained before, I think the game's a bit too easy. Like, it's too easy to level up your Pokemon, like, and I think there's just too much. The game's too big for its own benefit. It's like
games like that, when you out level the pace of the game, like you just end up pressing buttons mindlessly, and you're like, well, I could be playing an actual enjoyable game.
Yeah, it feels like it's no longer. It feels like the charms wore off in Pokemon Sword and Shield for me, and not Sword and Shield, Violet. I'm playing, and now I'm just slowly exploring the open world map, and just once I've kind of explored an area, I'll do the main objective in that area, then I'll move on to the next one. But in this game, like I've talked about before, where there is your classic gym badge things, but then you've got like two other like stories that going on at the same time, so which kind of count towards your badge total as well. So in total, I think there's something like maybe about 20 different like mainline objectives to do, and it's spread across this seemingly massive world, and it's just kind of like I've already got about halfway through all the objectives, and I've already got my team to a point where typically you'd be like looking to go challenge the Elite Four. Like everyone's fully evolved. I've pretty much got the moveset sorted out, and it's like now I just feel like I'm just doing tasks a bit, so the sheen just come off a bit.
Yeah, okay, fair. I get that.
But I will roll credits at some point. But I think that's enough of that. Rob, would you like to introduce us to the...
Oh, God, I did not prepare for this with Chris not being here. Yeah. Wait a second. Okay, here we go. The excellently exuberant, excavated Xbox expose, a.k.a. The News. I think I did okay for that one.
You did good.
Thank you.
As always, our news is brought to you by our Helix Heroes, where you can join for as little as 99p. That gives you early access to shows such as CloudQuest, such as Talking the PS, occasionally some of our pre-recorded Let's Play stuff we send to members earlier. I think I did so for Chained Echoes. I think they got about 4 or 5 days early. But
nice.
First topic of the show, Activision-Blizzard-King. We've got a little bit of an update because it's been quite a few weeks actually since we've talked about it. And I don't want to linger on this one too long, just because...
New to Microsoft.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's kind of a bit the update is a little boring, to be honest with you. Like, at the moment, like, basically, where we're at is kind of the regulators kind of making decisions on whether they're allowed to go through or not.
Yeah, and I think painfully it's on like a country by country basis, which is just so grindingly slow. It's like to say it will be glacial pace is it will be a compliment really. At this point, yeah.
Especially when the UK is still delaying the decision on it. So is the EU. There's some weird legal stuff going on with the FTC in America. So it's like, I almost feel in a way these kind of big blocks are kind of waiting for one of the others to make a move.
That's what it seems like to me. So you have like a couple of, I'm seeing like smaller countries like I think Chile recently said yes, it's all fine by us. Which, no disrespect to the nation of Chile, it's like it's not like a real mover on the global scene in the way that the EU or the US or to a lesser extent the UK is. It just feels like not in 100 years did Microsoft anticipate this level of grind towards it, and I think you can see it affecting other parts of their business. I think the fact they haven't had a showcase is closely related to this.
100% in my opinion.
Yeah, like I think they're trying to play it down how big it's going to be, but
it's, for me, I think what's delaying like any sort of showcase and stuff, because they are constantly like, come on guys, it's coming, we've got a lot to show you, it's coming soon. I think what's probably holding it up is senior management who would have definitely been involved in any major showcase. This is kind of consuming their time a bit. So there's probably like guys at Microsoft, at Xbox working on the showcase going, what do you think, Phil? And Phil's like, I'll get to it when I get to it. Like, I've got to deal with, like, I've got a meeting with a representative from the EU kind of sort of stuff to talk about it's got like a 4-hour meeting to talk about a single clause and something in the potential contracts and stuff. Like,
yeah, the thing I keep remembering is with all of this is, do you remember then Mark Zuckerberg of formerly Facebook, now Meta, had to go in front of I think it was Congress or senators or something, and explain how Facebook made money through ads, and the guy just didn't understand that basic concept. I feel like there's just 100 different questions that are going to get asked of essentially a gaming company by people who just don't understand or even want to understand the market really.
I could totally see our government, because our government are continually delaying a decision. Like the team whoever's on that panel, that select committee in the UK that are looking at this are kind of going, does anyone understand what the hell this is? What is an Activision Blizzard? What does it do? What is a Call of Duty? Is that the thing that my nephew plays who goes when he shoots things? Like, why is that worth 69 billion?
I just see a massive
toy.
Disconnect.
Like, and so they're kind of going, well, the Americans are delaying and the EU delaying. If they both say it's fine, maybe we just say it's fine. Like, I can totally see our government doing that. Like, going, if the Americans and the EU are kind of, it's fine, then like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like one country or one organisation has to do the bulk of the work, and I don't think any of them are in a rush to do that, which I think is the thing. But yeah, so.
And again, it is a massive deal, so it is going to take time. Like $69 billion is huge.
Yeah, like especially when you look at it, we've compared it in the past compared it to contextually to Disney buying Star Wars, which was 4 billion-ish, something like that. It's like this. It's like a whole other level, and
I think this is even at another level as well, because when you talk about Disney buying Star Wars, I think most people know what Disney is as a corporation. Even if you're not into Disney, I think most people know what Star Wars is. So it's like Disney buying Star Wars is like, but this is one IP that they were buying. Yes, it's a lot of money, and it's like it's not really impacting anything. Where with this deal, it's like there is that potential where like Sony making the arguments like going, well, if Microsoft buy this, that means they own it, and means that we then they may say they can come to our platform, which could completely destroy potentially completely destroy PlayStation, to be melodramatic about it, which will completely break this entire market.
Even trying to explain to like outsiders the difference between like a developer and a publisher of games, like I feel like, and like how some can be one and some can be both, and some are neither because they're an outsourced studio or something. I think that like
I think the way I got my head around it is by seeing them as completely separate entities, but occasionally an organisation may do the job of both of them.
Yeah.
It's like a Bethesda, the Bethesda can be just a developer, they can be just a publisher, but sometimes they are doing the development and the publishing for the same thing.
Yeah.
In reality, for Bethesda,
like
it is probably separate teams that are doing them sides.
Oh, yeah, there will be, 100%. But like the long and short of it is, it's nowhere near getting through.
I kind of, in a way, I hope this ramps up quickly. I'm sure Microsoft do over the next. Now we're into the new year. We've had our first week back of work. That over the next maybe month, that we really come to a point where this is like closer conclusion, where it's kind of like, okay, this is either the kind of when you get to that make or break point. So either it's going, no, it's dead, we move on from it, and then Activision-Blizzard-King stay independent, or it's going to go through. Now it's about sorting all the paperwork and just dotting the T's, crossing the I's. Like, this isn't done before April, though. This is like dragging on throughout the entire year in terms of the complexity. I think Microsoft would be absolutely thrilled if by the end of 2023 they own this.
Oh, yeah. We'll see.
But
they're too deep into it now.
It's the backwards and forwards. It's the postulating and stuff. I kind of hope that in the next like month or two that is done, and we know basically which way it's going to go. Like the Bethesda deal took a while to get over the line. After we knew that it was definitely going through. That's where I need to get to soon.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, and then maybe we'll have some games to talk about.
One can hope.
Yeah. Moving on, we have a game to talk about actually. Stranded Deep got a surprise drop onto Game Pass. So, Rob, you've played this game.
I have, yeah. I have a soft spot for kind of these types of survival games. So, like, your 7 Days to Die, your kind of Ark series, or like, what's the other one, which I've played a lot of? Raft. So, I have like a soft spot for these games. And for anybody who hasn't played it or is considering playing it, Stranded Deep is a very middle of the road like example of this type of game genre. It's good, it's fine. I wouldn't say it's anything remarkable. Any fans of like the Ark series who are familiar with like the a bit of a clunky control system and UI will kind of feel right at home with this game, because the control isn't kind of particularly polished, but for a surprise Game Pass drop, if you're into this type of genre, I'd definitely say kind of jump in, give it a few hours. I think I spent about 20 hours into it, and like it does kind of open up. It opened up at the halfway point of my kind of play time in it. So, again, if it's your type of game, maybe give it a bit of time and let it kind of mature with you. But yeah, free Game Pass game, can't complain. But nothing mind-blowing from my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, would you recommend this over for something like, let's say someone's played Ark for a while and they're excited for Ark 2. Would you say this makes a good kind of filler game?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, it's like, I don't know, I guess if you like ice cream and you've been eating chocolate for loads, like lots of time, and you're getting a bit
you're bored of
it,
chocolate, yeah.
Have some strawberry. That's this type of thing, I'd guess. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
and it's free.
Me looking at it and based on what you're saying about it, it's like I'm thinking like, yeah, if I wanted that kind of survival, like it's just me, and then I've just started off with nothing. You have to craft everything, and you build up your arsenal and stuff, and as you go, I think Grounded is enough for me personally to scratch that itch. I mean, different game in terms of the aesthetics. This looks a bit more. I mean, you can see you've probably been watching the trailer. You can. It looks it's trying to be a bit more realistic. It doesn't look hyper realistic. It looks slightly, from what I can tell, it looks slightly like stylized, but where like Grounded is very, very stylized. But
yeah, I mean, Stranded Deep. It's been reported that it has a fair few bugs in it. I didn't really experience many myself, so I don't know if they've patched it since kind of I was reading those reviews and things like that. But that's just something to be aware of if you are going to check it out.
Yeah, I think these sort of games tend to, for some reason they do tend to. I mean, Ark, me and Chris played Ark on Stadia, and I thought the game was garbage. Like, straight up hot garbage, to be honest. It was played so poorly. I didn't get to get into anything to do with crafting or anything because it just played and wasn't Stadia tech that was the problem. Because I played Stadia stuff for 3 years. And it's like I know the tech's good. It's just badly. Either it was badly ported, but then when we were looking into it, it's like, well, actually, no. This is just the game's just rough.
Yeah, so it was part of that. I'm not sure if Ark was actually an early access game or if it was just kind of, it came along with that kind of wave of them. But like, I played like a lot of 7 Days to Die, which has been in alpha for close to a decade now. And like, I'm used to like those types of games, and I kind of forgive their kind of clinkiness.
A bit of jank can be forgivable. When I played Ark on Stadia, it was like, in order to make it playable, you had to basically hack the game by using console commands to do stuff. So it was a bad port straight away. And then talking to other people and like other content creators who have played it on PC, they're saying, actually, not everything that is the problem you're having with Ark is down to the Stadia port. Some of it is like, this is just how it plays on PC. And it's like it was a bit too much jank.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but I'm hoping Ark 2 comes out better.
We'll see.
But moving on, a game that I think Microsoft need to get this out soon, like Redfall.
I feel like I've been listening about this game for a hell of a long time.
We're in this situation, I think, with Xbox where because that there's a couple of titles out there that like are rumored to come out this year, but nothing's been like fully concrete in terms of dates and stuff. It feels like you're just going over the same stuff again, like and again and again. It's like, but the update here is Windows sources at Windows Central are apparently Xbox exclusive Redfall is targeting an early May 2023 launch.
I mean, that's a dangerous release window, isn't it? For a non-franchise title as well.
Yeah,
being released in that window is.
I don't really hear much hype in terms of Redfall. I think it's one of them games. It looks fine. I mean, we've talked about this before. How it just looks like a Bethesda game with like slightly more horror.
Yeah, exactly. But I think with a game like this, it's timing can make or break these kind of like mid-tier. New franchise games, or kind of like non-titled games, if you want to call them that.
The thing is, you're calling it mid-tier, but this is a Xbox exclusive. This is a Bethesda game. This shouldn't be mid-tier. This should, by everything involved with the game and who's making it, should be top-tier, Microsoft first party. But it does feel mid-tier.
Yeah, like, I guess like that perception is
mid-tier in the AAA stage, not like this is not a AA game. This is definitely a AAA game. It's not like a Horizon Zero Dawn or Ghost of Tsushima or God of War Ragnarok, like taken from the PlayStation side. It's like,
yeah, it doesn't have that weight behind it, does it? And I think that's why when it gets like muddled up with some of the bigger titles coming out around that time, it's really, really going to suffer. The only benefit is that it's going to be on Game Pass, which I guess gives it some legs,
right?
Kind of later on in the year for people.
Yeah, this is one of them games where I'm looking forward to it because I'm a content creator, and I think there'll be we'll maybe get a couple of great streams out of it because like we've done loads of streams on World War Z, Me and Chris, and we had some great time with that. It's in that kind of ballpark where if I wasn't a content creator and I didn't enjoy like playing them sort of stuff like that on stream with yourself and Chris and the community, this would just be a straight up hard pass.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I would not spend money on this game unless something amazing happened post-launch, which told me it was going to be like worth it. So again, we always go back to this point where Game Pass can create a space for a game which wouldn't necessarily exist not on a subscription service, and I think that's great. But I don't want games to kind of like fall back to like, especially kind of like Xbox games, to fall back to a level of mediocrity because they can be on Game Pass, and that's like, I feel that could be an issue in the future.
I kind of feel we're probably being a bit harsh with that. I think this is the game that's kind of getting elevated in Microsoft fans' eyes, probably more than it should be. This should be kind of like, it should be your middling, like, okay, yes, it's a co-op shooter, your Left 4 Dead-esque game made by Bethesda. But because we don't know what much else that's coming from Microsoft this year, that we don't have anything absolutely concrete, it's very much in the spotlight. So any small movement is putting it back in the spotlight. So it feels like it's getting over-marketed a bit, and it's probably not its fault.
Yeah, I think the actual game quality and our perception of it's going to be two wildly different things.
Yeah,
I just think it's going to suffer.
Well, I don't think it's actually going to suffer because it is a Microsoft first party and it is coming to Game Pass. And even if it wasn't, I think it would find its audience. Because like things like Back 4 Blood, Left 4 Dead, these sort of games, they do have a following. And it is very much, that is the genre. So I think a lot of people who like them games would probably be willing to give it a go. Obviously, we don't know what the price will be on PC.
Mm-hmm.
But there again, if you're really into them sort of games and this comes to Game Pass, it's come to PC Game Pass, you just get Game Pass for a month to try it out.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Cash in that £1 3-month trial.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's move on now to Starfield, which is still releasing in the first half of this year. Again, another game we just don't have a date for.
Yeah, like we talked about at the start of the show, where like I feel like this like Activision-Blizzard situation is just like eclipsing some of the really interesting stuff that's kind of happening in other parts of Microsoft. I mean, it's still coming apparently. Like the early 2023 launch window and not having a date kind of in 2023 is a bit weird. I mean, I know like some titles can get away with it, but it feels like as a new franchise, which is kind of like has to have a certain weight behind it, and it's supposed to be as kind of like the next big Bethesda franchise, really. I feel like a more solid release date could have really kind of helped it in that respect.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I've actually put it in the show for this week as well is because apparently playtesters are kind of raving about it a bit. There's been some like starting to get a bit of noise about it, like things like I've heard things like even my criticism of it is the way it looks like, because they have this thing where it's got, you got millions of planets and that sort of stuff, and I'll go, that's millions of procedurally generated bland environments. Mm-hmm. Apparently it's not like that from what starting to hear. It feels like the marketing push is about to begin in earnest for this game.
Yeah, I'd love for it to be, because this is like a game that's like right up my alley, and I do hope it can kind of...
I mean, if it's going to be first half of this year, this is a game, I still think this game should have been like, this could have been a closer at Game Awards.
Yeah, 100%.
It feels like it should have been if it's going to be first Q1 or Q2 this year. Like, I mean, I'm guessing Q2 at this point because we're already in Q1 and we don't know a date. Like,
yeah, I mean, when was the original? Was it was it early November in 2022? I think, or something like that.
What, for Starfield? Yeah, I think so.
Something like that. Yeah, and now to have it be in like this limbo where it's delayed but not confirmed how long it's delayed, doesn't really sit well. But if the initial kind of feedback coming from testers is good. That's certainly going to like turn things around, but I just hope it gets announced in the next kind of week or two, or like end of the month has to be, right?
Yeah. I think it's. I mean, you don't want to. You want. I mean, this is Bethesda as well, so you don't want two Bethesda games dropping right on top of each other. And if Redfall is May, I think April is probably the latest.
Yeah.
Like, ideally, I think if this game is April, it's a financial decision to put it into next year's set of books rather than this year's. If you're going, assuming going April to April, where if it's March, it's like, no, we want this one last big hitter before like we close the book on this year's books, basically.
Yeah, but then releasing it in March doesn't give it long to kind of spin up the old marketing flywheel, does it really? Because
I would take a bet either like the last week of March or first week of April, from if I'm thinking with a financial point of view. Like, you could release it last week of March and kind of, it's mainly going to be next year's books, but we get a little bit of a spike day one.
Yeah, that's a fair one.
But I do think this is suffering again the same way as Redfall is, where they haven't shown that much of the game. They haven't really started the marketing pushing it in really earnest yet. But because I also haven't talked about anything else and they just keep going, guys, there's stuff coming. Everyone's like zoning in on what we know that is coming. Yeah,
and it's like when we're doing this show, there's not really a massive amount of, like, we can speculate and we can say, oh, it'd be great for this to happen and that to happen, but there's not a lot of kind of substance for us to cling on, even when we're talking about it. And you'd argue that we must be in like the 1% of kind of interested parties, right?
Like I go through loads of news sites trying to dig out what are the most interesting stories, and there's always stuff on Activision Blizzard. There's always stuff at the moment in Redfall and Starfield, and then there's a few over like kind of more like what I kind of think of as novelty stories. Like, yeah, if you're into Xbox, it's kind of interesting, quirky little stuff but they're not big like things.
Yeah, and for Microsoft to have such a strong performance on like the hardware and the cloud front that they had last year, we touched on it in last week's episode as well. Like they need to follow that up with titles and software.
I feel like the dam is ready to be breaking. Like, I do think we might get an Xbox showcase or something either this month or first half of February. And I think I know Sony in a similar situation where we've talking the PS, where it's like, we don't know that much that's happening in 2023 yet from Sony.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're in the same case, but I think it's worse for Microsoft because at least with Sony you can point to a handful of first party titles that have kind of landed quite well this generation already. Microsoft it feels like this generation for Microsoft hasn't really got rolling yet.
Yeah, and it needs to. It does. And
I absolutely 100% believe them at the moment when they say, yeah, we've got some great stuff to talk to you about that's coming in 2023. We're not too far off. I absolutely believe them. And again, I think it is just this Activision-Blizzard-King stuff that is just getting in the way, where they need to draw lines under that and get back to doing what's important, and that is releasing games.
Yeah, which would be nice from a game company.
Yeah, just that small thing there. So moving on to something that is quite a little quirky thing, which Asus have unveiled a new Xbox controller, but it's got a gimmick, Rob. Do you know what the gimmick is?
Richie?
It's got an OLED display.
Okay.
Yeah. So tech giant Asus has lifted the lid on its officially licensed Xbox controller at CES 2023. The ROG Raikiri Pro is a tad different from existing models, as it features a built-in 1.3-inch OLED display and seems to put PC gamers first. The screen's got a resolution of 128 by 40 pixels and can be programmed to show custom animations.
I mean, when they sat down to make this controller, like, the key question everyone needs to ask before they embark on an endeavor like that is, who actually wants this?
The thing
I
is,
don't know.
I think this will sell. It shouldn't, because there's no prices dropped yet for it. It's going to. You can guarantee this is going to be more than an Xbox controller, probably less than an Xbox Elite controller.
Also, it's Republic of Gaming as well, so it automatically has like a 15% tax on.
I mean, it's got RGB, like this weird like diagonal that goes around the right stick as well. And yeah, but like, I mean, seriously, who won? Apart from just like if you're totally into, oh my god, look how cool my controller is. Who wants an OLED screen on your controller? Because my first thought, looking at it, is that's a battery drain.
Yeah, I mean the Dreamcast had a pretty cool kind of little memory card thing on it with a screen, but like I don't think anybody's been crying out for controllers to go back to that.
You could play stuff on that. You could almost use that as a tiny little quirky little thing, and it's like, and again, no one's really done it since, so there's a reason for that. But it's like that just looks like a battery drain. So like, unless you want to have your name on it or like some cool like. Someone's just going to put a meme on it. Like, there will be someone who's put like the Fry Take My Money meme onto it.
Yeah, but aside from that, I'm not really seeing any kind of like. Obviously, like the connectivity improvements seem kind of something substantial. I don't know like the degree of tech to be able to appreciate that. But aside from that, it doesn't look like there's any other. Like,
even if
improvements,
the connectivity improvements are better. Have you used an Xbox controller and went, oh, connectivity on this is terrible?
Yeah, I just don't think it's
So it's probably going to be imperceptible. Or it's going to do, maybe you can stand 100 miles away from it and still work, but why?
Yeah. Like, and the really shitty thing is as well, you have to download the really terrible
Republic of Gamer app.
Yeah, like the Asus app, which is just like, I had to download for something, I can't remember what now. I think what it was is I had to control the a couple of LEDs in my case to like turn it off, and then I had to download an entire app just to do that, which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
but yeah,
this feels to me
nothing good to say about this.
I mean, it's probably an absolutely fine controller. HyperX have got bringing out an officially licensed controller as well this month, this March, and the HyperX one just looks like a standard controller. I don't think there's anything really noteworthy about it. It's just licensed. I think these are more focused on the PC market, but I mean, my thoughts with the HyperX, unless it's got like kind of like, and the Asus one as well, unless it's got kind of like extra features like back paddles or something that if you're hardcore into like shooters and stuff and you actually use them, these then have to, for me, be at a lower price point. So to make it worthwhile.
It's just kind of like it's the emergence of like that like what used to be third party controllers is now like officially licensed kind of third party, isn't it? And it's just like it may appeal to, like both of these controllers like might appeal to certain people, but I don't think most will care.
The HyperX one is like $34.99 in the US, so that does like knock off about $30 off the price point of an actual I was about to say DualSense of an Xbox controller.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just needed like a second controller and you're on a budget, maybe the HyperX is going to be fine for you. Like the Asus one though, I don't know, I just don't see the point in it. Like
no, not at all.
And considering it's probably going to be more expensive than a normal controller.
Just by virtue of having the screen on it.
You know what it feels like? You know, because we're in this world now where tech companies have to bring out new products every year to stay relevant. It feels like they just needed something. Yeah. So, like, development costs probably weren't that huge on it because it's a controller with an OLED screen. Like, there's a bit of development there. Someone could have worked
tirelessly for decades on this, Richie. You don't know.
I mean, there's definitely development there, but you know, like Asus know how to put OLED screens and things. They know how to do RGB. They know how to make controllers.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of like just assembling these things in the way and designing the project. It's not like we've got absolutely square one to design a new controller. It's like most of the building blocks are already in place.
Yeah.
And then it gets us talking about it, which then gets us talking about Asus and their brand.
Shit, we've been had, Richie.
Well, no, we've been largely negative on it, so we're all right.
Okay, that's fine.
But yeah, it's because it's a CES launch. How much stuff does get to go to CES that companies like going like, it's your concept car thing.
Yeah.
You know, where a company makes a concept car, they have no intention of ever making it or selling it, just to get people talking about it. I mean, they are going to be selling these, but it's in that ballpark for me. It's a marketing exercise rather than actual. We expect to make a lot of money off this project.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on to a product that I'm actually interested in, Razer are launching a 5G handheld controller. So we've had, well, not controller, console. So we've had some like portable consoles are kind of making a bit of a comeback from third-party developers. If you want to include, if you want to say Steam as a third-party developer, that they are and they aren't. If you're using Steam, this is an Xbox show. If you're using your Steam Deck to play Xbox games, it's a third-party console. If you're playing games on Steam, it's first party. It's that weird thing. For the sake of this conversation, it's a third party. And one of my criticisms of stuff like that, and I think there's like LG have brought out stuff as well, is it's lacking. These are meant to be portable devices. Some of them are specifically aimed more at cloud gaming. Mm-hmm. But then you're stuck with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the leading kind of things that the Razer's kind of pushing right there. It's like 5G connectivity.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's only on the most premium version of the device. So
there's a Wi-Fi only model, which is starting at $399, and the 5G model, which is $599.
That's a lot more as well.
It's too much for me, man.
That's like half again, really. So like, call it 400 compared to 600 for simplicity. Yeah, that's a big leap for 5G, right?
I like the concept of like, because I do think for cloud gaming, for portable gaming going forward, it's not even just cloud gaming. If you wanted to play Call of Duty or Battlefield or something on one of these on the go, let's say, I don't know, you go at school. Let's say you're going to school, you want one of these so you can play with your friends on your lunch break, and then you go home, you go to your Xbox. Having 5G, because Wi-Fi tends to... Your home Wi-Fi network is going to be pretty good for cloud gaming if you've got a decent... If you've got like your Wi-Fi set up well. But on the go, Wi-Fi tends to be kind of crappy because it's not for gaming. Bad. Yeah, there's a lot of things connected to it. So there's a lot of interference. Well. It's restricted. There's all sorts of caveats. And it's not really for gaming. It's more aimed at just general like social media browsing or watching YouTube videos. That's kind of what like public Wi-Fi is aimed at the moment.
Even a lot like restrict watching YouTube and streaming video content because of like the resources it takes. So
yeah,
like a portable streaming gaming device is always going to be like bricked essentially when you leave home, unless it's kind of got its own kind of strong connectivity. With this release, the thing I keep thinking is that like this is a phone without the calling function stuck into a Kishi. Am I missing something here? Like
not really. However, as someone who owns a Kishi, and actually I use a Pixel 4 XL, so it's not a small phone, it's a larger phone. I still find the screen too small on it for gaming. For some games it's fine, but when I try to play FIFA on it, I was like, this was the screen right close to my face because everything just seemed too small. It just never really felt comfortable to play like more like action heavy games. Turn-based. I played a bit of Chained Echoes actually on my phone over Christmas, and that was fine for that style like pixel art, like SNES era kind of game. But yeah, so I think having a bigger screen, a more dedicated device that is more akin to like the screen on a Switch is a significant improvement over a phone.
Yeah. So is this like on your consideration list for buying?
Absolutely not. Not for $599. My issue with it is, like, it has 5G capabilities. It doesn't seem to be confirmed whether that is just like pay once, use 5G wherever you are in the world, no bother. But 5G tends to be network controlled, so I don't know how they're going to handle that. If I take this to a different country, does it work?
It does feel like you'll need a SIM.
Yeah, I would rather them.
Right.
What I've advocated for is you build in the antennas and stuff into the device to allow for 5G capability, and just let me buy a SIM card.
Yeah.
I'll go to EE or O2 in the UK and I'll get a cheap contract with them and I'll put the SIM card in there. That's kind of the way I'd take it. So then if you do go to a different country, then it's not even Razer has to handle the business arrangements around that. They're just putting the hardware in, and then maybe if you're in the US, make a deal with Verizon or someone. Getting you a phone and a Verizon, and you can get half price on this. That kind of bundled in sort of thing. But I would just, for me, instead of I would just literally, because then instead of this being like $200 more, you maybe make it $50 more. And then, to be honest, at $450, I'm still not at all interested. I think they're way too much.
Yeah, I think for me, like having a second device to carry around just to do kind of cloud gaming kind of goes against what cloud gaming is trying to get to, it's viable on any device.
That being said, if I commuted to work every day and spent maybe an hour or two every day on the tube, suddenly that $400 seems like reasonable, because I would then get it's just. I think when it comes to the price of things, you have to look at it and go, how am I going to use this? Is it worth that sort of money for me?
And also, if you're going to be commuting kind of that distance as well, like, how much time are you going to have a stable connection? Even if you're commuting in like a big city, like,
don't know.
It's not going to be 5G all the time. Therefore, it's likely going to be a bit crappy on the quality.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be like, you're on a commuter train or anything. It might be like, you go away a lot for work.
Yeah.
So then you do have, like, maybe you bring your own stuff. Like, I know Chris goes away for work, and he's taken a PlayStation on the road with him before.
Mm-hmm. Hoping on PlayStation 5. But he's in a suitcase. But I think this is good as a concept, and it pushes the concept further, but I don't see it having much pickup with audio, like with actual buyers. Which is fine, not for Razer, but it's fine for the actual industry as a whole. It's just, I don't think Razer will get much out of it.
Yeah, I mean, they will sell some of them. Like, I think it's going to be a good product. For me, it's just not worth the price. And I actually like having a dedicated gaming device other than my phone, because my phone batteries, it can be a pain in the ass, especially if the phone's a year or two old. And if you're away from home, you might not know when you're next going to be able to charge your phone. So I would kind of want to preserve my battery a bit. I don't want to be sat there playing Forza on my phone, burning through my battery. And then, actually, I need this to do actual tasks. So that's when I'd like to have a secondary device.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So I think, to sum up, it's a good device for what it is.
Yeah.
But commercially, it doesn't really line up for either of us use case, right?
I think we move on back to touching on a few more games. Mortal Shell. So this game was on Game Pass and left in November, but now it's back.
So this is a game I didn't actually get a chance to really look at. A lot of it's not really kind of my... It seems like a big game, which is the issue, I think, for me, which, if you kind of get into it, it feels like a bit of a kick in the teeth to have it taken off Game Pass, potentially interrupted like in the middle of your game and kind of you're kind of run through it, and then have it pulled back when you've kind of...
It's weird, right?
Divested of interest from it.
It was basically off Game Pass for 2 months,
Yeah, it's like, why? Like, and I get like there'll be teething problems with like licenses and kind of like this is licensed from this period, and then we'll do you a deal where like you have all this in from this period and things like that. But it's just a bit weird.
If I'm being cynical, I think what might have happened is because this game, it's just one of them games that just, when something just, maybe you're being harsh on it, but it just feels completely generic video game, nothing of that much interest unless you are, I mean, it looks kind of Dark Soulsy, to be honest. So if you are a Soulsborne player, it might be one of the games that you look at. But there again, Elden Ring exists. So it does feel in that kind of category of game is like hard to justify. So where maybe the player numbers have fallen off a cliff since it left Game Pass.
Potentially, yeah. Because it does feel like the market's getting a bit overly saturated with these types of titles.
Yeah.
And I don't like... I'm glad it's back for people who want to play, but also I don't want like the entirety of Game Pass kind of like bogged down with a lot of just middle of the road forgettable copies of each other.
I know. I'm the same. It's like we seem to be going through this current era where since like Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne especially, and Elden Ring's kind of stepped it up another notch as well. Like developers are kind of going, wow, we'll make this a bit like hard. Like Ghost of Tsushima kind of falls into that category a bit.
Yeah.
Where I enjoy Ghost of Tsushima, but there's times when I do get frustrated playing it, where if you make a mistake, you just get destroyed, and it's like, now I need to start that long fight all over again.
Yeah,
and it's not that I didn't know what to do, didn't learn the attack patterns. It's just I just made a mistake.
Yeah, it's just like you can't be 100% all the time.
Yeah. So there's stuff like that, and I think because of the like Soulsborne games are kind of really popular right now, I think we are going to go through a bit longer of getting them, such as Warlong Fallen Dynasty, which another game that's meant to be coming earlier this year. I'm not sure if we have a date for this one, but it's looking like good apparently.
What are we looking at?
So this is from Team Ninja. Oh, we do have a date. It's meant to release in March. 3rd of March 2023 from Koei Tecmo. Okay.
So, despite the fact we've been kind of a bit critical of the marketing and scheduling around a lot of games in the first half of this year, it's actually going to be really strong for Game Pass in general. Again, this is going to be another kind of release on Game Pass day one. But again, it's from what I'm reading, it's a bit Soulsy again.
It does seem to be that way.
So like, whilst it's great for people who enjoy that type of genre, I just feel like it's a lot of fatigue.
It's a Marmite genre for me, Soulsborne games. Either you're totally into it, you like that punishing thing, you like the whole kind of, I need to perfect how I play, or you kind of hate that. I'm one that I think I need to give these sort of games a bit more of a try, because I played a bit of Dark Souls 1 and 2. I've tried to start Dark Souls 1 about 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I'll start enjoying it. It's like, okay, it's got this like gothic fantasy world, quite very dark. It's like, that is of interest to me. And then I'm just not good at the game. And it's the whole, you have to get good thing is like, well, for me, the game should teach you to get good rather than just say get good.
Like, ironically, for a lot of these like games and franchises, I end up going to YouTube and like watching lore and story videos about the universe to actually learn about them, because I guess I haven't earned the privilege to get that myself, because I'm no good at the games.
I do intend to try Elden Ring at some point. I do have it. I do need to give Elden Ring a go. I might do a stream of it at some point. I'm not committing to when, just because we've got things like the Clickercast coming up, and I don't know when I'm going to have the free time to actually do it, but it's a game that I do need to commit to at least one stream, I think. And I do think it's a game where a lot of games like that, I do actually just prefer to actually, maybe I'll do a pre-record the first look, then just play through on my own if I enjoy it. I think this one needs to be live.
I think it's too big of a game not to at least try, even if it's not your particular
Well, that's it.
taste.
Because it's Game of the Year and it's so well revered, like, this is the one I think I need to give the genre another attempt at an honest try again.
Yeah.
That Elden Ring, not maybe Warlong. Although Warlong maybe, because it is a Game Pass game.
Yeah. And you've got a lot of choice if you want to play a Souls game on Game Pass.
I think for me, it's what Sekiro was always the one that I was looking at the most, but it's like I could just play Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
Which is, I know that they're different games, but if I want to be like a Japanese samurai ninja sort of like character, Ghost of Tsushima is one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
And that's actually why I'm leaning like I do need to give these another go, because I do love Ghost of Tsushima.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the platinum twice. It's the only game I have 2 platinums on.
That's a ringing endorsement right there.
Yeah,
Double
that's
platinum.
it. Like, it's your fault actually, because when you started replaying it, I was like, oh yeah, out between games, I want to play Ghost of Tsushima again.
See, I started playing it, then retreated into Vice City.
Yeah, I just continued on. I think we'll round up the show with just talking about what games are coming this week to Game Pass. Well, to Xbox in general.
Go for it.
So, starting off on the 11th of January, optimised for Xbox Series X and S, will come to smart delivery. We have Children of Silent Town.
Cool.
Also optimised for Xbox Series X and S with smart delivery. We have Breakers Collection coming on January the 12th. January the 12th as well, we'll get Chase and Static. We get Netscape on January the 13th. Most of that I honestly don't know anything about. Trailers will probably be up as we're talking. One Piece Odyssey comes on January the 13th. Now, this is one I wish it was coming to Game Pass.
Yeah.
Because like I like One Piece, but the game looks... I don't think the game looks good, but I hope it is good. It's that anime game. It's like, is this just going to be crap? Like, you know, it's like the video game tie-in thing is like...
Yeah.
It has the potential to be a good game, but I just don't think it will be. I think
it could be the Iron Man 2 game.
Yeah. Anyway, and on January the 13th, we have Under Dungeon.
Yeah,
Any of them...
I'm going to be real, like, none of these are appealing in the slightest to me. Which is... It's what you expect in, like, this little dead zone after Christmas, right? Like,
yeah.
You don't expect anything major to drop in January particularly, but I will be sticking with Vice City, Command and Conquer, and Fallout New Vegas, I think.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out as well, actually, that we have starting on Thursday, August the 11th. Wait, is that right? I don't know. I meant to be looking at an article for free play days, and it's like, for some reason, this article's dated back to August, so just ignore what I've just said. I had some new free play days coming. It's like, for some reason, I've ended up with an article from August, so just completely ignore that. But yeah.
Moving on swiftly.
Yeah. But I think that's all we have time for this week. If you've liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel or your podcast feed of choice with notifications switched on so you know when all of our great content is dropping. If you want to hang out or talk about games or just give a topic for the shows such as CloudQuest, or even maybe I'll get you to write in some questions for ClickerCast, let us know in the comments below. We also have a Discord server. The links are in the description. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Richie.
And I've been Rob.
I don't know how I was going to end that show, so goodbye.
Goodbye.